What does tithing look like under the new covenant? Hebrews 7 says Jesus receives our tithe in heaven. Here, mortal men receive tithes. This is the key verse. Here, on earth, mortal men receive tithes. But there, it's talking about Melchizedek, but we know it's talking about Jesus. If you read the full chapter, Jesus receives them. So here, mortal men receive it, but there, in heaven, Jesus receives them, of whom it is witnessed that he lives. Genesis 14, Abram pays the first tithe. He appears without any genealogy. At the very least, a type of Christ, a representation of Christ, but many scholars believe a Christophany, which is a pre-incarnate appearance of Jesus. So before Jesus came as a baby, there are appearances in the Old Testament that people believe were appearances of Jesus. Abraham tied to him, recognizing his spiritual authority, right? The lesser giving to the greater. Hebrews 7 connects Melchizedek to Jesus. The whole chapter is about connecting him to Jesus, who is our high priest. Not from Levi, the Levitical priesthood, tithing to someone who was from the tribe of Judah, because Jesus is from the tribe of Judah. The Levitical priesthood was based on the law and the tribe of Levi. Under the old covenant, the priest had to come from the tribe of Levi. They received tithes from the people, but the system was limited and could not bring perfection. And then we know Jesus comes from Judah, not from Levi. Hebrews 7:14 says, "It is evident that our Lord arose from Judah, of which tribe Moses spoke nothing concerning priesthood." So Jesus, as a descendant of David, is from Judah, not Levi. This means he could not be a priest under the Mosaic law. People say tithe was under the Mosaic law. Well, the first tithe was unto Melchizedek, pre-Mosaic law. And in Hebrews 7, we're saying here, as if it was still happening, men receive tithes, but Jesus receives it in heaven. In verse 12, it says, "For when the priesthood is changed, the law must be changed also." So what happened? Jesus became the high priest after the order of Melchizedek, not by genealogy, but by an eternal, indestructible life. And if that's a Christophany, that he lives on eternally. And he received the tithe pre-law back then, and he still receives the tithe today, as we see in Hebrews 7. It's a spiritual principle. 400 plus years before the law, the greater receive tithes from the lesser. There are often rich folks in church that think they're the greater, and they're blessing the lesser poor church. But that you're looking at it wrong. You're not giving to the church. You're giving, yes, mortal men and the church leadership, delegates instituted by God, appointed by God. So Jesus, in the order of Melchizedek, receives tithes as our eternal priest. So what does that have to do with tithing today? If the priesthood has changed from Levi to Jesus, the tithing principle continues under a better covenant, not through law, but through honor and faith. Because by faith, I'm giving it to Jesus and not giving it to the usher with the bucket.